that has a minority of misguided senators who would use the filibuster to keep the majority of people from even voting. They wouldn't let the majority of senators vote, and suddenly they would want the majority of people to vote because they know they do not represent the majority of the American people. In fact, they represent their own states, a very small minority. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., July 5th, 1963. It's about time for things to get better. We want the truth, and no more lies. We want freedom, justice, and equality. Said we want it for you, and we want it for me. We got to give the people what they want. We got to give the people what they want. We got to give the people what they want. Said you got to give the people what they want. Give the people what they want.
There are, in the United States of America, 15 million or more of native-born citizens, something less than a tenth of the nation, who form largely a segregated caste with restricted legal rights and many illegal disabilities. They are descendants of the Africans brought to America during the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, and reduced to slave labor. This group has no complete biological unity, but varies in color from white to black, and comprises a great variety of physical characteristics, since many are the offspring of white European Americans as well as of Africans. Similarly, there is an equal and perhaps even larger number of white Americans who also descend from Negroes, but who are not counted in the colored group, nor subject to caste restrictions, because the preponderance of white blood conceals their descent. The so-called American Negro group, therefore, while it is in no sense absolutely set off physically from its fellow Americans, has nevertheless a strong hereditary cultural unity born of slavery, of common suffering, prolonged prescription and curtailment of political and civil rights, and especially because of economic and social disabilities. Largely from this fact have arisen their cultural gifts to America. Their rhythm, music, and folk songs, their religious faith and customs, their contributions to American art and literature, their defense of their country in every war on land and sea, and especially the hard, continuous toil upon which the prosperity and wealth of this continent has largely been built. The group has long been internally divided by dilemma as to whether it's striving upward should be aimed at strengthening its inner cultural and group bonds, both for intrinsic progress and for offensive power against caste, or whether it should seek escape wherever and however possible into the surrounding American culture. Decision in this matter has been largely determined by outer compulsion rather than inner plan. Some inner plan for rabid and prolonged policies of segregation and discrimination have involuntarily yielded the mass almost into a nation within nation with its own schools, churches, hospitals, newspapers, and often other business enterprises. The result has been to make American Negroes of wide extent provincial, introverted, self-conscious, and narrowly race loyal. But it has also inspired them to frantic and often successful effort to achieve, to deserve, to show the world their capacity to share modern civilization. As a result, there is almost no area of American civilization in which the Negro has not made a credible showing in the face of all his handicaps. If, however, the effect of the color caste system on the American Negro has been both good and bad, its effect on white America has been disastrous. It has repeatedly led the greatest modern attempt at democratic government to deny its political ideals, to falsify its philanthropic assertions, and to make its religion a vast hypocrisy. A nation which boldly declared all men equal proceeded to build its economy on chattel slavery. Masters who declared race mixture impossible sold their own children into slavery and left a mulatto progeny which neither law nor science can today disentangle. Churches which excuse slavery as calling the heathen to God refuse to recognize the freedom of converts or admit them to equal communion. Sectional strife over the vast province of slave labor and conscientious revolt against making human beings real estate led to bloody civil war and to a partial emancipation of slaves, which nevertheless, even to this day, is not complete. Poverty, ignorance, disease, and crime have been forced on these unfortunate victims of greed to an extent far beyond any social necessity. And a great nation, which today ought to be in the forefront of the march toward peace and democracy, finds itself continuously making common cause with race hate, prejudice, exploitation, and oppression of the common man. Its high and noble words are turned against it because they are contradicted in every syllable by the treatment of the American Negro. For 327 years.
Your name is Big Brother. You say that you're watching me I can't wait to see your face inside. See your face inside my door. My name is nobody. I can't wait to see your face inside my door. Your name is Big Brother. You say that you got me all in your notebook, writing it down every day. Your name is I'll see ya. You say that you changed it for me. Cause a debt of your soul. I live in the ghetto. Just come to see me around election time. Do, 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 do. I live in the ghetto, but someday I will move on my feet to the other side. My name is secluded. We live in a house the size of a matchbox. Or just live where there's walls to wall. You build all around us. I don't even have to do nothing to you. You cause your own country to fall. Do, 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 do.
In the Constitution of the United States, Negroes are referred to as fellows, although the word slave is carefully avoided before the 13th Amendment. Article 1, 1787, Section 2. Apportionment of members of the House of Representatives. Representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, including those bound to service for a term of years, and excluding Indians not taxed, and 3/5 of all other persons. Other persons means Negro slaves. Article 1, Section 9. The migration of importation of such persons as any of the United States now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, not exceeding $10 for each person. Now, each person refers to Negro slaves. Article 4, 1787, Section 2. No person held it to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulation therein, be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered upon claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. This refers particularly to fugitive slaves. Article 13, 1865, Section 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, thereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Article 14, 1868, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any persons of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, not denied to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Section 2, representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians, not taxed, but with the right to vote at any election for the choice of electors for president and vice president of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive or judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except for participation in rebellion or any other crime. The basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state. Section 3, no person shall be a senator or a representative in Congress or elector of president or vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state, to support the Constitution of the United States shall have enlarged an insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Section 4, the validity of the public debt of the United States, authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services, and suppressing insurrection or rebellion shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave. But all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Section 5, the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Article 15, 1870, Section 1. The rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2, the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. We appeal to the world to witness that this attitude of America is far more dangerous to mankind than the atom bomb, is far more clamorous for attention than disarmament or treaty. To disarm the hidebound minds of men is the only path to peace. And as long as Great Britain and the United States profess democracy with one hand and deny it to millions with the other, they convince none of their sincerity, least of all themselves. Not only that, but they encourage the aggression of smaller nations. So long as the Union of South Africa defends humanity and lets 2 million whites enslave 10 million colored people, its voice spells hypocrisy. So long as the Belgium holds in both economic and intellectual bondage a territory 75 times her own size and larger in population, no one can sympathize with her loss of dividends based on serf labor at 25 to 50 cents a day. 7 million white Australians cannot yell themselves income championship of democracy for 700 million Asiatics.
When the day is gray, I know it's clouds have seen by. You give peace and comfort to every troubled mind. give peace and comfort to every troubled mind. Palm Sunday, oh, Palm Sunday, that's the day. Sunday, oh, come Sunday, that's the day.
Therefore, peoples of the world, we American Negroes appeal to you. Our treatment in America is not merely an internal question of the United States. It is a basic problem of humanity, of democracy, of discrimination because of race and color. And as such, it demands your attention and action. No nation is so great that the world can afford to let it continue to be deliberately unjust, cruel, and unfair towards its own citizens. This is our plea to the world, and to show its validity, we are presenting you with the proof. The National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, with more than 500,000 members, has asked 4 scholars under my editorship to present chapters showing in detail the status of American Negroes in the past and today in law administration and social condition, and the relation of this situation to the Charter of the United Nations. Milton R. Condens, who writes chapter 1, is white American of Jewish descent. He is associate professor and director of research at the School of Industrial and Labor Relations, Cornell University. He is a member of the National Legal Committee, NAACP, and author of The Constitution and Civil Rights, Columbia University Press, 1946, and The Alien and the Asiatic in American Law, Cornell University Press, 1946. The writer of the second chapter is an American Negro, Earl Dickerson of Chicago. Mr. Dickerson is a practicing lawyer and formerly a member of the legislature of the state of Illinois. The third chapter is by William R. Mean Jr. of the Federal Office of Price Administration, and recently has been made a member of the Institution of Social Scientists and Lawyers of the University of Chicago. Rayford R. Logan, the writer of the fourth chapter, is a Harvard Doctor of Philosophy and History, first lieutenant in World War I, and now professor of history at Howard University. He has written Diplomatic Relations of the United States and Haiti, The Operation of the Mandate System in Africa, and The Negro and the Post-World War. He was editor and contributor to What the Negro Wants, 1947, W.E. Du Bois.
lilies of the valley, they neither toil nor spin, and flowers bloom in springtime, birdies sing. I know often we are weary, but He knows our every care. Go to Him in secret, He will hear our every prayer. From dawn till sunset.